When you download the Kroger app, you have easy access to savings every day. Shop weekly sales and get personalized coupons to get the most value out of every trip, every time, whether you shop in-store or online. Download the Kroger app now to save big. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Must have a digital account to redeem offers. Restrictions may apply. See site for details.
Save big on your favorites with the Buy 5 or More, Save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
A Redemptive Life Worship Center at 9 a.m. Hear the Word of God and soak it in. You can join us for our live Sunday service at 10 o'clock a.m. till 12:30 p.m. at Redemptive Life Worship Center at 2265 Highway 54 in Marlin, Georgia. Have a blessed week.
WQEE 99.1 FM The Key, home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Hi, I'm Holly Reese. I'm the founder of Warrior Defenders. I'm a certified tactical self-defense instructor, and I specialize in women's self-defense. I teach technical drills for survival skills and education on self-defense tools and how to use them. My journey started in self-defense because I'm a domestic violence survivor. I'm here to empower women, to teach them how to be their own heroes, and to learn today to have a safer tomorrow.
This is Margie from Connecting Hearts Network. I'd like you to take just a moment and listen to Linda Kirkpatrick explain to you what Family Patterns Matters is all about.
Family Patterns Matter works with youth and their families to help overcome barriers that prevent their success. We meet twice a month with mentoring, tutoring, teaching life skills, resilience, gratitude, and kindness. We also bring music and art therapy. Please visit our website at www.familypatternsmatter.org.
Hello, I'm Pina Payne with Contour Mortgage, and we're so excited. We have just moved to this new company, and we are located at 560 Noonan Crossing Bypass in Noonan next to Art and Jake's, and we have some great products. Our interest rates are better than any other companies, and we also have some great products for the VA. We can do a better deal for you with fees than any other company. We have a lot of different kind of programs.
Shopping for insurance doesn't have to be stressful. I'm Christy, owner of Ellsworth Insurance, located here in Noonan, Georgia. We're an independent agency with access to multiple carriers for home, auto, life, health, and commercial insurance. We're your one-stop shop for your insurance needs. Visit our website at www.insurewithellsworth.com or call the office at 770-755-7053 to schedule an appointment. We look forward to meeting you soon.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Find us online at killingsworthrealty.com or call 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.
This is Josh Petrantonio of the Columbus River Dragons, your home for River Dragons hockey and Noonan 99 Rock.
The views and opinions of this show and program are not the views and opinions of this station, its management, or its clientele. It's now time for Heart to Heart Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to one another and resources. Now here's your host, Margie Conway.
Hi, this is Margie Conway, and we are up here live with Ryan and Tiffanie Teel. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. This is Connecting Heart Network is us, and I'm from Creative Heart Studios. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're up to towards the end, if we have a good break in our conversation, because, you know, sometimes I get talking to people and we don't know when to stop. So this is Tiffanie Teel. She runs Tiffanie Teel and Company, but she is the founder of the We Over Me community. So thank you for joining us, Tiffanie.
Thank you for having me, Margie. I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here. We have some exciting things to tell you about with the We Over Me community, which is a new network of women entrepreneurs, and I always get the word wrong, here around Coweta, but it is going to spread. And so I'm grateful that you have formed that, so I have something of quality that I feel I can join that way.
Thank you. We're really excited. I'm obviously personally vested. It's a vision that came to me, which I'm sure we'll get into the history of it a little bit, but it's a passion project for me, and it's finally God's time to see this community grow. And when that became obvious, I obviously was overjoyed.
Absolutely. Because I met Tiffany when I was over at Happy Life, and I started to say happy hour, and we don't do happy hour like that. Over at Happy Life Nutrition, Tiffany would come in and work there because she was a work-at-home mom.
That's right.
And so she would come in and work, and I met her through there and was very impressed as I watched her through the years, how she conducts herself and the business that she's looking to grow, or the community, rather. So tell us a little bit about you personally.
Okay, well, I'm a Christian wife, mom, daughter. I'm a sister of 5.
Oh, wow.
The eldest. They'd love to know that, so I'll give my family a quick shout out.
The
right?
Eldest of 5?
The eldest of 6.
The eldest
of my 5
6.
youngers.
This only child is not envious at all.
And now I have an only child.
Yes.
But I'm an aunt, a friend, and a leader in our community and at our church. I left my corporate tech job back in 2005 to pursue the dream of being my own boss. So
you know the ins and outs of it.
I have been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years, and I've helped my husband start his business back in 2000, and we have a lot of experience under our belt. And obviously with that type of experience and those number of years creating your own income, there's a lot of things that you learn.
Oh, I'm not that great at creating income. People ask me if I'm a nonprofit, and I say no, I'm a for-profit that makes no profit because I give everything away, which is true.
It is true. You have a big heart, so you named your business well.
Well, I'm 100% giving God credit for that, because to me, I felt like heart was hokey, and I was trying hard to get away from it, and He didn't let us do that. All right, so I have watched you in the community. I know that you lead small groups for your church.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were a director for MOPS for several years.
I was. As a matter of fact, MOPS is a huge piece of my story with the We Over Me community. So about 9 years after leaving my corporate job, I became a mom, and it was still really hard to sit still, though. So while I was a little bit quiet and still for the first couple years, we actually relocated out of Douglas County back home to Meriwether County. And it just became a little bit lonely, right? So I started having to dabble and figure out what to do. So from teaching essential oil classes on Facebook to eventually learning about MOPS and joining MOPS, I built a community of moms over there who just changed my life, really. And it was a community I'd never had before.
Right.
But when it was time to leave, because you're eligible, right? As long as you're a mother of a preschooler. So
and you don't really want to have a child just so you can stay in MOPS.
That's right. That's right. So, while I was there, the last 2 years that I was with MOPS, we ran a group of women of about 100. About 100 women. Yeah. So when I left, it was a big impact because my world got really quiet again.
Absolutely.
My kid was in school, and then I was left to wonder how I was going to spend my time. What was next in motherhood?
Well, and I know MOPS formed lasting relationships with you because I met one of them the other night at our social.
Several of them were there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know. Well, I guess I kind of did when I listened to the conversation, but one specifically said that's where she knew you from. Yeah. So that's good. So that is a good shout out for MOPS. If you are a mother of a preschooler, there is probably a local group near you. If there's not one near you, I'm sure you could learn how to form one.
Well, and since we're here in Noonan, we'll give them specifically a plug. You can go to mopsofnoonan.org to connect and find their meeting times and location.
And that's important because, raising 2 young kids and trying to stay home with them, I did that. I understand the importance of the loneliness because kind of felt that. Then they got older in school. I started volunteering everywhere. So, all right. So you were in MOPS, and you had a great community, and then you graduated out of it, and you were without the majority of the community in the same way that you had it from MOPS.
Right.
Community is something that God's been bringing up on this broadcast and at Connecting Hearts a lot over the last couple of weeks, is just having a community that you can be a part of.
It's important.
Yeah.
I think as women, we thrive off relationships,
Right.
maybe a little bit more than most men. And so it's really important to get connected and stay connected.
Right. And it's, like I said, it's become a theme with us lately. And that's one thing that we do at Creative Hearts, is we try to have a community that where they fit in and where their stories fit in, because I've told mine several times how, especially being a birth mom, nobody understood that until I found a group of birth moms. And so that's, important, and that's with small groups like you teach from your church, and everything there is to build a good community there. And as Christians, we are called to be in community together.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right, so tell us a little bit about the start and the dream of We Over Me Community.
Okay, so when I graduated from MOPS, I started freelancing again, and kind of got, sucked into work, and I just thought, gosh, I can't allow myself to get lonely in my work again.
Right.
I was close enough to that MOPS experience that I still felt what it did for me. It was still very personal, and I thought, okay, so there has to be a way to still thrive in a growing community and surround myself with that,
right,
with the like-minded women, but also to work,
right,
and also to remain the primary influence of my kiddo. Right? That's still important for me as a mom.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, so what, and there's got to be other people coming out of MOPS, if at least, that feel the same way.
Right.
So what is next for us, and how do we create an environment where we can stay connected? And what do we need? I'm sure there's a lot of moms who are able to not go back to work, or families, that don't have to have a working mom.
Right.
Some of us don't have to work, and we just want to because we can't sit still. So there's a variety of mothers out there, but since I was working, I just said, okay, let's focus on the working mom.
Right.
Whether she's, just got that time freedom and she's a little antsy and she's dreaming about something new. Maybe she's already started a small business of her own, but she doesn't really know what to do, so she fits in that early entrepreneur category.
Right.
Or maybe she's a seasoned entrepreneur. I mean, I had been seasoned, but I was focusing on a new zone of genius, right? I had really narrowed down what I loved to do over that years that I had been in business. And so my business looked different than it ever had before. Right. And then there's also moms who have to go take a 9-to-5, but maybe they don't want that to be permanent.
Right.
So those are the categories of people who became my focus. And I just said, that's where I have experience, and that's who I can help. That's going to be my zone of genius. And those are going to be the people that I'm going to be able to help the most. So that is where the We Over Me community kind of was formulated for, who it was formulated for. We actually stands for Woman Entrepreneur.
Right.
So we did a little play on words there, and the community is named to portray our motto, which is community over competition.
Right.
We want to create that space where women come in heart-centered, God-focused, and really support each other, shine each other's crowns, and celebrate when someone has a win, and then also pick each other up when we aren't winning, and share our tools that worked versus what didn't work for us, and just really hold each other's hands as we walk through the journey of business.
And that's important. And at first you hit on that was your experience, and that's what you knew, and that's what you needed. It's important when we're trying to start any new ventures that it is, in what I do, I try to be who I needed, all those years ago, and who my mom needed. That stays, at the forefront of me. And then I try to do it so my daughter and my granddaughter doesn't need to find someone to be that role model or in that position. And so that's important because our own experiences do lead to the genius, you said, of the circle of where we're supposed to be. So it's good that you've did that. Now, the we over me, that is not a common thought in today's society. I belong to other groups, networking groups and stuff, and I really don't attend a lot because they're not fitting for me. And so we over me is a new thought, and like you said, is community over competition. So tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, like I said, the environment that I need and that I want other people to have is one that they thrive in, where they feel encouraged to be themselves, their authentic selves. One that allows them to pull down their guards and truly follow their passions. And for those that don't have any experience creating an income, I want to help show them how they can do that. Because my true God calling is to help women follow their passions, avoid the 9-to-5 so they can remain the primary influence over their children's lives, but create that income so that they can do what they need to do and develop the life that they need to have for their family, that they want to have for their family, and truly live a life that they love.
Right, and that's important. I've mentioned several times I just kind of fell into everything I did. And I do know that's by God's design. It wasn't, random. But when you're talking about living through their passion, that's part of what we do at the studio, is some of them need to heal and clean things away so they can find that passion. And so we help them find what their talents and gifts and passions are. Then we're going to have to send them to you so you can teach them how to live it, because that is so important. I know with the life I grew up in and first marriage and stuff, my only dream when anybody tell me to do a vision board, because I did every direct sales under the sun, they'd say, what's your goals? What's your dreams? Do your vision board. And I'm like, okay, how do you put quiet, peaceful family that follows God on a vision board? And so now we do vision boards over there that do that. But that was my only dream. So when I actually got that, I'm like, okay, now how do I dream for something else? So what kind of advice do you give people to find their dreams and their passions?
To step towards God.
Right.
I mean, I'm like you, Margie, where I feel like I kind of fell into it. But I finally had this moment of clarity where I was able to recognize that it was not at all me falling towards or falling into or necessarily creating a life that I love. But it was when I really had that come to Jesus and began focusing my life on Him, focusing my attention, seeking Him fully. It was then that my life started falling in place.
Right.
And it felt like the one I love, right? So we want to talk about creating a life we love and designing a life we love because it grabs attention.
Right.
But when we get into the nitty-gritty of it, we're not designing a life. God's already designed that life for us. It's about stepping into the one that He has for us.
That's it.
And so it's really beautiful to live that out. And it feels completely different than when we're stepping away from Him.
Absolutely. And you're right. I was a teacher for many years, and then I was a church secretary for many years, and I was talking with our pastor the other day. I know as a teacher and as a church secretary that what I did meant good and helped a lot of people. I know it did. But it took me going through all the healing that I did that didn't feel so good at the time. But it took me going through all that to get to where I am now. And I know that I'm much more effective now than I was then. And it's completely the surrender to God. And letting Him show you which way to go. Because I used to ask Him to just hit me over the head with His signs because I could not find them anywhere. And now that I'm past that and all the debris is cleared away, I see His signs everywhere.
That's true.
Yeah, He is definitely there. And so when you start moving into the life God designed for you, it is very joyful. We read in the Bible to have an abundant life. And I think so many Christians, me included for a while, figured that abundance was when we get to heaven, not right here. But I'm having the time of my life right now.
I am too.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear you are.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a good time. And okay, I know that in forming the community, you must have had some trials and obstacles or anything that get in your way. Because first of all, I know if we're doing anything to draw people nearer to Jesus, Satan's going to try to get in the way of it. Do you have any particular stumbling block or obstacle that you want to share with us that you've made it through with this?
Sure. I actually formed this community online 3 years ago.
Right.
I poured 6 months into it and building it and trying to create engagement locally and in our online space. And the people just didn't bite.
Right.
They didn't bite. And so I knew at that point it wasn't God's time. And I said, okay, well, we're just going to step back and we're going to reserve this space for when it is His time.
Right.
So at that point, I just continued to focus on connections. And that's when I knew the best way to at least get a core group together was through a small group.
Right.
So I signed up to lead a small group, went through small group leadership training with church. And so that's been 2 years ago now. And I called it Next in Motherhood.
Right.
I felt that was very clear, right?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we've spent 4 semesters together as a group. We've grown, we've shrunk, but it's been beautiful to see those women come together, and the connections that we've built have been very, very special. The studies that we've gone through have been very telling.
Right.
And so I would say, definitely having a dream and a vision around something and it not being God's time can be very intimidating, right? And discouraging. So I would say if you run into that same situation, the best thing you can do is just do what is next, right? What is in front of you? What can you do right now?
Right.
It may not be the right time for that, but eventually it will be, especially if it's a part of God's plan. Like,
Absolutely.
Had He said no, He would have moved my vision. He would have grown it into something different. He would have, but it remained. And so I knew, okay, we're going to get back around to it. And the women in that small group inside Next in Motherhood, we just decided together. I mean, they, with their encouragement, they were like, it's time.
Right.
It's time to relaunch. I got really focused. I found some partners who were completely committed to the vision, and they have drawn out of me things that I didn't know existed.
And God will put those people there that do that. Yeah.
He has. And without them, we wouldn't have relaunched.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you that. So I give a shout out to those women who had my back and have poured into me and this community long before we relaunched it. And so we did. We relaunched in April. And I've got some really special stories that I can share that'll tell, kind of what the community is, like success stories about how we've, seen people grow and what we know can happen for more people.
Oh, right. And that's us with the radio. First of all, it says God will give you the desires of your heart. But the next part of that, if you're going in context, which you have to do, is you find once you surrender to Him, those desires are His desires for you. And so any of those that we have that is giving Him the glory and pointing to Him, those are the ones that we focus on. And it's like with this radio, I have been reminded that when I was 15, I went to Mercer to a college prep program for the summer, and they did all these aptitude testings. They put me in TV and radio broadcasting. And one of my high school friends reminded me of that last year. And then at the church for about 18 years, I did the video and TV broadcasts that we had at the church. Because I was on staff and we had lots of volunteers, but you know how that goes. So I learned the hard way how to do the production work in the background. Never thought I'd be on this side of the microphone at all. Ryan walked into Happy Life to talk to Dana about that because I had hurt my foot, so I was laying low for the first 6 months I had it.
I remember when you hurt yourself.
Ryan walked in October or November, and he talked to Dana about an ad. And I'm sitting in the back, and I'm thinking about her journey, which is the program we do for domestic violence victims and survivors. And I'm like, you need to go talk to him and get this on the radio. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like it today. So I didn't go. And then in December, he came back to talk to her about her ad. And I again felt like you need to go out and talk to Ryan. And I'm like, I'm not peopling today. Then in January, he walked in there, and he wasn't talking about her ad. He was talking a little bit, I guess, about follow-up. But he comes out, do you know any women that would like a radio show? And I think God just literally kicked me in the behind and sent me out there. And I'm like, I don't want a radio show while I'm walking towards him. But now I'm glad I did because I absolutely love it. And I usually carry that little microphone around with me in my pocketbook and stick it under everybody's face.
I love it.
Yeah, but you're talking about having a core group of women behind you. That's
That's
important that we have supporters. You will run across all kinds of people that will give you the negative views and try to bring you down. And it's important we surround our people with godly people or surround ourselves, not our people, with godly people and people who are going to support your dreams and help encourage you and teach and mentor you. You know, it's always important we have somebody a step ahead of us, too.
Exactly. And, you know, I think after coming through MOPS, I really could relate. Like, I was a late in life mom. And while I had helped, you know, I'm the oldest of 6 kids and helped my mom a lot.
I'm still rolling my eyes at
Becoming
that.
a mom is still very
Right.
different. And I can't say that I didn't think I knew it all. I might have thought that, but I quickly learned that I didn't. And having surrounding myself with other moms who were in the same season was really the helpful aspect of it. But then also, a lot of the moms that I met, they weren't on their first kid, so they weren't in the exact same season. They might have had a kid my kid's age, but they had already gone before me.
Right.
So that mentorship was very important. And so, again, I pulled from that experience, and now I'm just applying the same philosophies and lessons to business.
Right.
And that is exactly what the We Over Me community is. It's we've gone before you, or we're walking alongside of you.
Right.
So how can we help each other? Also, let's talk about entrepreneurship from the aspect of how many of us are actually just solopreneurs, right? That's
absolutely.
There's so many terms around entrepreneur, you know, mompreneur, solopreneur, entrepreneur, momtrepreneurs. But being a solopreneur, doing it all by yourself and wearing all the hats is tedious work. It's time consuming, it's exhausting, and it's hard. It's hard work.
It is.
And so if we build a community of like-minded people who fill up the room with a bunch of different services or products, I bet we could find one or two to partner with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So why don't we unload the tasks that we're not good at or that we don't enjoy, that suck the life out of us, right? We're supposed to be living and designing a life we love through this journey. And so it's time to step back and say, okay, what's sucking the life out of me? What is taking away from my joy? Why don't we find another entrepreneur that we connect with, that aligns with our own visions and our own goals and our own standards, right? And why don't we give them that work?
Right.
Because if we support them, someone else in the room might need something from us that supports us.
And you'll have the time to do it.
Right. And then we will have the time for that extra work. Also, focus on the zone of genius, but not just the zone of genius. Hopefully that zone of genius is exactly what you love and what you're passionate about doing and how you spend your time. So it's also about building partnerships, and that's really a key factor. But mentorship, coaching, connection, relationship building, those are all guiding principles. You know, they're all aspects of the community that are certainly very important.
Well, and I follow a podcast online about being a Christian business person. And one thing that she brought out, because I've been a control freak a lot of my life. Only child, unreliable parents.
I'm not an only child, Margie, but I can relate.
You were an older one. I'm never going to forget the oldest of 6. But it is, and plus I had closed myself off for so long, and so in my experience, I learned if Margie wasn't taking care of it or fixing it, it went to the ground. And so it's I had a hard time doing that. But in this last several years since I've surrendered, and surrounding myself with people, having other people that have strengths that I do not is important. Like Amy, who hangs with me all the time. Mm-hmm. She keeps me focused and helps make sure I don't forget things and takes care of all these little details that just go totally out my window. And in this podcast, it was talking about if you can't do it any other way, look at it as when you help someone, don't you feel a blessing? So if you're not allowing those who are strong in your weaknesses to help you, then you're taking their blessing away. They're not being able to get it from you. And I want to bless as many people as possible. So if you want to come work, call me and I will let you. All right. On We Over Me, it started online. You have a landing page and it leads to a Facebook group.
That's right.
All right. What is that landing page?
The WeOverMeCommunity.com.
Okay. And when they do that, tell us the process of getting into the Facebook group.
The landing page exists so that you have an opportunity to decide if we are the right fit for you. It tells you very clearly who we are and what we're about. I can tell you in just a few words that we are sharing real life experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, to help you kickstart your dream, scale your business, or elevate your career.
All right.
And so you're going to get kind of a summary of who we are, also what our plans for the future are, and to kind of highlight some of those things, I can tell you we're building the online space because that's the easiest place for busy people to connect with other people, right?
Well, through pandemic, we all learned to go online anyway to look for things. So that's going to be the first place they'll find you.
Yeah, it's a habit right now to look for things there. So what I'd like to see happen in that community is that we go there first for our requests or our needs, right? So if you want to know what mechanic to use for your Honda Pilot, I might be raising my hand right now. I have bad, not shocks, but struts on my car, and I have to have those replaced. So we're looking for the right mechanic, right? But if you're looking for the right mechanic, or you're looking for the best restaurant that serves Italian food, who would you want to ask first? A bunch of people you don't know, or maybe a community that you've already really connected with, right? So I want that space to be available for little simple questions like that, but also let's get back to the foundation of why the group is here, which is business.
Right.
Okay, so who did you use to build your website or design your logo, or who did you map out your business plan with?
I didn't use Tiffanie, but I hear she does that.
So, there's so many needs that we have in business. What attorney did you use to draw up your LLC or your S corp papers? And, do you have a CPA who's helping you manage your goals financially. Money talk. Shoot, we all need to talk about that at some point. I've started digging into some podcasts talking about money. What is money? How to take care of money? How to save your money. There's lots of topics that we need to spend more time on.
Right.
And so, yes, we can do a lot of that online, but the ultimate plan and what we've already kickstarted recently is some social events. So we'll have social opportunities to get together and truly build those relationships. I think that's very important for us to get face-to-face.
Right.
But we're going to do some workshops on those topics that the majority of the group is saying that they need help on.
Okay.
Workshops are going to be, a shorter 2 to 3 hour session that are going to be paid for sessions. So we have the free sessions, we have the free stuff, but we have some paid for opportunities where we can learn, invest in ourselves. And I'm really excited to truthfully announce that we're also going to have a retreat coming in January, which will be annual, and it will be an opportunity for us to invest in ourselves, invest in our business, but truly reset.
Right. For a new year.
Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically for the new year. Set some new goals, and just reset our hearts and make sure that we're focused for the upcoming year. So without partners, I wouldn't be doing that.
That's true,
for sure. And I don't have all of the details ready. The tickets are not for sale yet, but again, my goal is to keep ticket prices for every paid-for event low. There may be opportunity to build on that ticket price. In other words, upgrade your experience. But ultimately, we want to make all of our paid-for activities accessible to the majority of the group. So we're really excited about the opportunity to pour into this community in a new way that I feel is really needed here in the area.
Well, I know last week we had the first social. Was there 21?
21 women.
21 women. Several sets in different walks of life. So me and Amy actually sat in the ones who are younger with younger children, and at the other end of the table was some that was more in where we are now. But we got along. I mean, it was wonderful to be able to sit and talk. And I told my husband when I went home that was the first business-related event I went to where most people were discussing what church you went to.
I know, that's beautiful, isn't it?
It really was, yeah.
It's really nice to surround yourself with other like-minded women, especially when it comes to faith, because I think I don't know if it's jaded necessarily, but it's just the average person doesn't really understand that God can be a part of all and should be a part of all aspects of your life.
Right.
Raising my hand over here, I'm guilty that I started my career and walked through the majority of my career all by myself.
Right.
In other words, I didn't pray about my career. I didn't ask for God's guidance in my career. I am guilty of excluding God from anything professional in my life.
Right. Well, first of all, it depends on your view of God. And like in the counseling classes I learned, if you can't view him as a father because of your background or whatever, you have trouble relating to him as a father. My safe place as a child and everything was going to school. So I could most definitely see him as the great rabbi up there that I could go up and talk to and get my grade and come back down, but not necessarily depend on him because I didn't want to bother him with the little details.
Okay.
So I can have days now that I can tell which ones are the ones he's directing and which ones I've taken upon myself. And the ones he's directing are so much easier and so much more fun than the ones I am. And that's not saying there's not work in it and there's not struggle in it and there's not, things you have to deal with. But when he's directing it, then it gets dealt with properly.
Right, because he knows where we need to grow.
Right.
And so, yes, growth does bring discomfort.
Yes.
And it's hard, but at least when he's directing it, we're growing in areas that he has directed, right?
Right.
That he's ordained
Right.
for us to grow in preparation for something that's next and something that's bigger.
That we have no idea about.
No idea.
No idea about. Because he does truly work it all for our good. And sometimes we can't see it when it happens, but we most definitely see it from the other side of it. All right, so we have talked about the online group. We've talked about the socials and the retreats. I know you've mentioned workshops. Is there any in the works at the moment?
We are working on a couple for the summer. I can't
Okay.
name them because my speakers are not confirmed at
Okay.
this point. But I would say look out for something to be announced in May for June and possibly July, because those seem to be 2 good months for us to give ourselves a little time and attention.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think ours kind of gets a little quieter in the summer, but
Does
I guess those moms who have kids in school actually have a little bit of time.
Right.
Right.
And also, you're quieter in the summer.
Right.
That means it might be time for you to invest in yourself in an area that
True.
you might need to grow.
True.
Because business might be a little bit slower.
True. So we have those that to look forward to, and how are they going to find out about activities?
Well, certain workshops and retreats are only going to be available for members.
Right.
Membership is free, though. So if you feel these are things you need to check out the landing page and you need to join the community, because those things will not be offered outside of the community. They will go to our community only.
That's good. And I know on the community you have like a monthly member spotlight application.
I sure do.
I mentioned to you at the beginning, I went to try to fill it out and then I just stopped because it started talking about 3 words you describe yourself. And I work really hard to teach women to look for their identity in Christ, not in their weaknesses, which I tend to do. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come back to this later.
Well, obviously it's not meant to be difficult, but
Right.
it is meant to make you think, right? When we invest in ourselves and into another community, right? We're going to get more out of it than we could ever imagine.
You're
so
right.
if you just come in and you just sit there and you don't interact and you don't show up to the events, you're probably not going to get a lot out of it.
Right.
But if you come in and you participate and you get active, you're going to see some things happen. Right. So the Spotlight application is actually designed to make you think.
It made me think.
It's designed to make you put in a little effort in a way that it's going to benefit you long term. Because actually what we're going to do with that information that's given to us is build a bio for you.
Right.
And so
without having to submit it to the AI like I did and letting them do it for me, that was kind of interesting. Though.
Exactly. And so we try everything we ask for from you. We always try to give you something back in return. And whether it's fellowship or whether, it's just something small that you can use in your own business. I think it's really important for each person who is giving something to get a little something back in return so that they feel the value of their investment of time.
Right. You mentioned your partners that you have. Did they come from your core group that you started in study, or God to bring them along your path and you have a interesting conversation? Is there anything you want to share with that?
Well, initially they came from our core group of Next in Motherhood, and they pulled me aside, and one in particular pulled me aside and said,
that might be one I know.
I heard that you have this thing going on. We hadn't talked about it much in the group. I heard a little bit about it. You've mentioned it here and there, but it seems like there might be some work to do. Here's what I want you to know. God has sent me to you to help make sure that this takes off.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so that was an amazing moment. And then we had another one step in the same way. But then we actually kind of recruited somebody else from church that we knew. And she is just an amazing young entrepreneur. She's fresh out of college. At the same time, her job was ending and she wasn't really sure what was next.
Right.
And, I mean, when you've been doing something for a long time,
Right.
you start to see opportunities for other people, and you kind of want to tell them about the opportunities.
Right.
Sometimes you have to wait and let them see the opportunities on their own, and other times they do need a little prompt.
Right.
In this situation, I don't know that she needed the prompt, but we quickly needed her and grabbed a hold of her, and we brought her alongside with us. But she's one of my success stories that I can tell you about. I mean, in just 3 months, she went from graduating school, not knowing what was next for an income because her job was ending, to now running a successful social media business where she is doing social media for other businesses. So she's created that income that she needed.
Right.
But her vision is to open and run a nonprofit. And so by, designing her work life like this, it's allowed her to create and save enough space and time for the nonprofit.
That's true.
And so already she's creating and generating an income, but she's also completing the paperwork, the state paperwork for her nonprofit.
Good.
And working on that. So she's my young professional that I like to rave about, because it's beautiful to see those success stories, and just to know that when people don't realize that they don't have to have a job, a job,
right.
and that they can actually generate an income another way, it's really fun to watch them realize it and then experience it.
Right, absolutely. I can identify with that on other things. And it's also good that we have younger people, and so it's more relevant to other younger people than sometimes we can be. And I know you and I are in different regions in life. And so I know at our group we have some older women, which is good because, they've been out of some things for a while and they've been able to grow as mentors. And I knew, God will show you who's supposed to help with that. And so I knew of a couple that he had pointed out to me. And so now we have some young ladies coming in still fresh from trauma and things, and these are able to step aside and mentor them a little bit better. So it's good to be able to see them learn and then be able to turn it to help other people.
Absolutely. The wisdom that you have after you've lived and experienced is very important, and I think it's important, and we're called to pass that wisdom down.
Right, absolutely. In 2 Timothy we are. So give us another success story.
Okay. I've got another one that's really exciting. So this particular lady came to me, and I didn't know her, but she came to our Next in Motherhood group first semester. We actually weren't even an official small group at church yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't know. I was new to the church.
Right.
And I didn't know you had to go through small group training. So I'm kind of telling on myself here. So I just said, well, let's just get together for coffee each week.
Right.
We'll start planning to turn it into a true small group at church, right? So I prepared, and by the next semester, we were officially, listed in the directory. But this lady came to us. She was a career pro. She had her 9 to 5. She was very happy with it, and very firmly let us know she was not looking to become an entrepreneur. I said, that's okay. I believe that if you want to be here and this is the right group for you, that there's a reason. You will have takeaways. There's no reason that anyone in this group has to be that everyone has to be an entrepreneur, in other words. So by the end of our second semester, which wasn't even a full 6 months later, she informed us one day, out of the blue, she had turned her 2-week notice in and she was starting her own business.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now, a full year later, she has, in fact, a book of business that allows her to still have enough time freedom to focus on how she's going to make the next impact.
That's very good. Yeah. It's so would you share some of your personal testimony?
Absolutely. Margie, I grew up in a Christian school. I grew up with God as a foundation in my family and in my life. So that's all I know. All I knew, right? But I had some church hurt, and I moved on to just doing life on my own terms for a lot of years. And the more sections of my life, so to speak, because I think I compartmentalized a lot of things to convince myself that I wasn't living without God.
Right.
And so the more that I stepped away and left him out of those different areas of my life, the further I got from him.
Right.
And he called me back, and, you know, I had a hard time getting back into church. I didn't want to find a church where I was going to be recognized or noticed.
I went to one for like 3 months for that. I needed to blend in with the crowd for a while. Yeah.
It's funny, like, obviously at the time, I don't think I realized that's what I was doing.
Right.
But, so I attended church for several years in that capacity. Then I became a mom, and God meant something new to me.
Right.
I think that was a renewal of spirit, mind, and body, purpose, and it all kind of came, the big picture kind of came back, right? And so as a mom, I've just began seeking him more and more each day.
Absolutely,
truly.
yes.
And so my personal testimony as far as my faith goes is just that he loves us, and he has grace for us, and that he forgives us. And truly what he wants is a relationship with us.
Right.
And so it hurts him more than it hurts us when we walk away from him like that, and when we aren't giving him our time and attention.
Right.
So while I feel so blessed and thankful, the closer I become to God, I know and trust that he feels equally, and probably greater love and happiness and joy, because I know how it feels when my son gives me his attention.
Absolutely,
and so being a parent really changes my perspective, because I can look at him as my Heavenly Father.
And you're right, it really does change perspective. And your story is kind of like my husband's story. You know, he grew up, they went to church, he had faith, he was saved, he was the oldest of four. And then as he got older in his life, he kind of decided, you know, he was going to have fun and do what he wanted to do for a while. And as soon as he had his son, he said his eyes was open, and he's like, oh no, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me turn it around. So he turned it around and went to the church we go to. We go to Westside. And I hear before I showed up, he was at every service and sat with his son, even with his son in Sunday school. He didn't really do the adult stuff, but he did all the kids stuff. And then I showed up and he just does everything. So it means something different. Like we've talked about community earlier, to have a church home that you feel at home in and comfortable. To have that community, it's a good support system for you there to learn and grow and do what we were talking about in networking for our Christian faith. You can't let it just lie. You have to work on it.
That's true.
Yeah. And you're talking about God looking on you as his child, and you realize that more as you became a mother. One of the verses, and I can't get the reference off the top of my head, but it's in Zechariah. And we teach in our abuse group that God doesn't look on the woman as an adult abuse case. It's child abuse. Someone has hurt his child. And how would you feel? And so we do that, but there's a verse in Zechariah that says he is singing with his heavenly host of angels over you. And to know that God is up there cheering you on and on your side and looking for you to follow him and do those things, and how happy it makes him when you do it. But then also how he loves on us even when we don't do it. Yeah, that is invaluable for everybody. Grace is most truly free, and it comes from Jesus through the sacrifice he made on the cross for us. It's not something we earn. It's not something that we can go out and work our way to. Somebody accused me of working before to think I had to do that to be saved, and I absolutely 100% know it's a free gift. I don't have to work to be saved. I just want to work because I am saved. So know that he has a free gift for you, and there's a free community in the We Over Me for women entrepreneurs. Tell them once again how to find it.
Okay, so you can find the We Over Me community through my website, which is TiffaniTeel.com. That's TiffaniTeel.com. Or it's probably a little bit easier just to go to the We Over Me community.com.
Is it we/me or we over me?
We over, with the word over spelled out.
All right.
So
we will put the links on this stuff when we start spreading it around so they can find it easier. But, you can go, you don't have to wait. You can go ahead and do it now because I have joined it. Technically, I joined it last year, but like you said, you've relaunched in April. So I'm going to engage.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to engage and be in it. And I know just the social, we had the best time. I really enjoyed the support and the encouragement. And so I know, through reading it, watching her videos that she has in there, which is part of the story she told today, is invaluable. So please do that. So thank you so much for coming today.
Yes, ma'am. I just feel honored to spend time together with you, reminiscing, also just sharing our stories as sisters in Christ is very special. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And guys, you can find me at the Creative Heart Studios. It is over at 3 Bullsboro, which is the brick house on the Hillcrest Chapel property. So you go in the front of Hillcrest, drive to the back where the brick building is, and we're in there most of the time. So you can come find us there and see what we're up to. Take care. This is Margie from Connecting Hearts Network. I'd like you to take just a moment and listen to Linda Kirkpatrick explain to you what Family Patterns Matters is all about.
Family Patterns Matter works with youth and their families to help overcome barriers that prevent their success. We meet twice a month with mentoring, tutoring, teaching life skills, resilience, gratitude, and kindness. We also bring music and art therapy. Please visit our website at www.familypatternsmatter.org.
You have been tuned in to Heart to Heart Radio, presented by Connecting Hearts Network, connecting women to resources and one another. Located at 3 Bullsboro Drive here in Noonan. Tune in next week for another episode of Heart to Heart Radio with Margie Conway.
Dunkin' Iced Radio, take 1.
Dunkin' Iced Coffee is... Ooh, sorry, one more time? Dunkin' Iced it... Ooh, Kelly, we're trying to record a timely summer-focused radio spot for Dunkin' Iced. Can you stop with the shaking?
But this is the sound a Dunkin' Ice makes. Maybe you should keep it in?
Well, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Try all the Dunkin' refreshers, iced coffees, cold brews, and lattes. Dunkin' Iced. America runs on Dunkin'.